Ever wondered what it's like to be more than just a student, to be a protector of your community and a defender of our nation? Imagine having the skills to respond to a disaster, to stand side by side with the AFP in times of crisis, and to make a real difference in the lives of your fellow Filipinos. That's the power of being a reservist. Today, we're not just talking about drills and uniforms. We're talking about being part of something bigger than yourselves, about carrying on a legacy of courage and service that stretches back through Philippine history. Ready to unlock your potential? Let's dive into the world of the AFP Reserve Force and explore what it means to be a citizen soldier. Primer NG AFP Reservist, 101 Facts. Q1. What laws make the Reserve Force possible and how is it organized? 1. Great question. Several laws work together to establish the Reserve Force. The 1987 Constitution, this is the supreme law of our land. It says the armed forces of the Philippines AFP must have a citizen armed force. That's the Reserve Force, made up of ordinary Filipinos who receive military training and serve when needed. Republic Act RA 7077 AFP Reservist Act of 1991. This law gives us the details on how the Reserve Force is organized, trained, and used. Implementing rules and regulations IR 2 RA 7077. These are like the how-to guide for the law. They emphasize that every Filipino has a duty to defend the country, and the government can call on them to serve. RA 7898 AFP Modernization Act. This law aims to build a strong, modern AFP, with the Reserve Force as the key part. National Defense Act of 1935. This law says that in emergencies, the government can call on all of us, as citizens, to help defend the nation. Q2. What's Republic Act 9163 all about? A2. RA 9163, the law that created the National Service Training Program and STP for college students. ROTC used to be mandatory, but this law made it optional. It's your choice if you want to take ROTC as part of your NSTP. Q3. What's the mission of the Reserve Force? A3. The Reserve Force, sometimes called the Citizen Armed Force, has a few key missions. Being ready to help the AFP in emergencies, if there's a war, invasion, or rebellion. Reservists step up to support the regular forces. Lending a hand during disasters. Reservists help with relief and rescue operations after typhoons, earthquakes, and other calamities. We've seen this in action many times, with reservists helping their fellow Filipinos during times of crisis. Contributing to the nation's development, reservists use their skills and training to help communities. This could be through medical missions, infrastructure projects, or even educational programs. Keeping essential services running. If needed, reservists help keep important things like power plants and water systems running smoothly. Q4. How is the Reserve Force organized? A4. The Reserve Force is divided into 5 groups. Army Reserve Component. They focus on ground operations and combat. Air Force Reserve Component. They handle air defense and support from the skies. Navy Reserve Component. They protect our seas and waterways. AFP-wide Technical Service Reserve Component. They provide specialized skills like engineering, medical care, and communications. Affiliated Reserves. These are groups from civilian organizations that are trained and ready to support the AFP. Q5. What's the AFP's goal for the Reserve Force? A5. The AFP wants the Reserve Force to be a major part of our defense. The ideal goal is for the Reserve Force to make up 80% of the total force, with the regular force being 20%. This means that in the future, reservists like yourselves could be a huge part of protecting our country. Alright, let's break down the organization of the Reserve Force in a way that's clear and interesting for future reservists. Q6. How is the Reserve Force structured? A6. Think of the Reserve Force as mirroring the regular AFP, just with everyday citizens instead of full-time soldiers. Battalion-sized units or their equivalents are usually found at the provincial level, while larger brigade or division-sized units are formed on a regional level. This structure ensures that reservists are available to help wherever they're needed across the country. Q7. How are reservists categorized? A7. There are 3 categories based on age. First category reserve 1835 years old. This is the prime age for active service, and most reservists in this group are part of the Ready Reserve. Second category reserve 3651 years old. These reservists are typically in the standby reserve, but can volunteer for the Ready Reserve if they're fit and qualified. Third category reserve 51 plus years old. These are our most experienced reservists, usually part of the retired reserve, but they can still be called upon if they have unique skills and are willing to serve. Q8. What are the different classifications of reserve force units? 8. There are 3 main classifications. Ready Reserve, primarily made up of younger reservists. First category can include older volunteers who are fit for duty. Reservists in this group are actively trained and ready to be mobilized quickly. They might also be part of affiliated reserve units that protect essential services like power plants or telecommunications. Standby Reserve, mostly reservists in the second and third categories. They have annual check-ins to update their information, can be called up in national emergencies. Retired Reserve, for reservists who have retired from active duty or reached 65 years old. They can still volunteer to serve if they have special skills needed in an emergency. Q9. What are classified as Ready Reserve I? A9. The Ready Reserve I is the first string of the reserve force. They're the units that are on high alert and can be mobilized within 7 days. Think of them as the quick response team. They're well-trained, equipped, and ready to jump into action whenever and wherever they're needed. Q10. What units are classified as Ready Reserve II? A10. The Ready Reserve II units are also trained and prepared, but they have a bit more time to mobilize, up to 15 days. They might be assigned missions that don't require immediate response, but they're still a crucial part of the reserve force. Q11. Who manages the AFP Reserve Force? 11. There are several groups within the AFP that work together to manage the reserve force. Office of the Deputy Chief of Staff for Reservists and Reserve Force Development J8. They coordinate with other AFP offices and even civilian agencies to develop and strengthen the reserve force. Major Services 9 South. These are the specific branches: Army, Air Force, Navy that manage their own reserve components. Major Services Reserve Commands. They oversee the training and readiness of reservists within each branch. AFP Reserve Command AFRESCOM. This is the central command for all reserve force units, ensuring they're organized and ready to go. Q12. What is the supremacy of civilian authority? A12. This is a fundamental principle in our democracy. It means that the military is always under the control of the civilian government. The President, as Commander-in-Chief, leads the armed forces. The AFP follows laws passed by Congress, enforces court orders, and respects the authority of other government agencies. Q13. What is the chain of command? A13. The chain of command is the order of authority within the AFP. It starts with the President, then goes to the Secretary of National Defense, the AFP Chief of Staff, and down through the different levels of commanders. Every soldier, whether in the regular force or the reserves, has a designated superior and must follow their lawful orders. This is how we maintain discipline and effectiveness in the military. Conversely, commanders have to be responsible leaders and take responsibility for their decisions. Q14. Who or what is a reservist? A14. Reservists, also called citizen soldiers, are ordinary Filipinos who have received military training and are part of the AFP Reserve Force. There are different ways to become a reservist. Commissioned officers. These are individuals who have completed specific training and are appointed by the AFP. ROTC graduates. Completing ROTC can lead to becoming an enlisted or officer reservist. Graduates of other military training. There are other training programs that can qualify someone to be a reservist. Former AFP personnel, soldiers who have been honorably discharged or retired, can join the reserve force. Members of affiliated reserve units. These are civilians from organizations, like government agencies or private companies, who have received military training and are ready to support the AFP in times of need. NDCP graduates. Those who have completed the National Defense College of the Philippines program may be commissioned as reservists. Q15. What are the roles of reservists? A15. Reservists play important roles in both peacetime and during emergencies. Peacetime, reservists participate in training, exercises, and community programs. They can also be called upon to support internal security operations, civil military operations, and intelligence gathering. Crisis. When a crisis hits, like a natural disaster, reservists are often among the first to respond. They provide medical care, help with evacuation, and assist with recovery efforts. Wartime. In a national emergency, reservists can be mobilized to provide combat support, base defense, and even combat forces if necessary. Alright, let's dive into the responsibilities of a reservist and some important regulations. Q16. What are the responsibilities of a reservist? A16. As a reservist, your responsibilities are crucial for the readiness of the reserve force. Be ready for the call when you're called for mobilization, training, or active duty. Respond promptly. It's your commitment to the country. Know your unit and where to report. Be aware of your assigned reserve unit and your designated mobilization center. This ensures you can report quickly in case of an emergency. Update your information. If you move, let your unit know your new address so they can reach you. Stay informed. Respond to communications from the AFP and keep up with any changes in regulations. Register with the local civil registrar. Every 3 years, update your records to comply with the law. Always be prepared. Keep your skills sharp and your mind ready, because you never know when the country might need you. T's. Q17. What are the Articles of War? A17. The Articles of War are the set of rules and regulations that all military personnel, including reservists, must follow. They cover everything from proper conduct to discipline and legal procedures. Q18. Are reservists covered by the Articles of War? A18. Yes, absolutely. Whenever you're in training or called to active duty, the Articles of War apply to you. It's important to understand them to ensure you act responsibly and uphold the values of the AFP. Q19. What is the Reservist Accounting System? A19. This is the system the AFP uses to track and manage reservists. It includes information like your personal details, training records, and unit assignments. Q20. What are the 6 phases of the Reservist Accounting System? A20. It's a step-by-step process, from the initial preparation to ongoing monitoring and training. Preparation, information dissemination, coordination, registration and mustering, categorization, classification, and organization, notification of assignment, monitoring, training, replacement. Q21. What's the policy on the reservist ID? A21. The AFP has a system for issuing ID cards to all its members, including reservists. These IDs are important because they verify your status, duty status, and connection to the AFP. It's a way of officially recognizing your service and contribution to the country. Great. Let's dive into the details of IDs, uniforms, and readiness levels. Q22. Who handles the processing of a reservist ID card? A22. The initial steps are done by your major service reserve command like ARESCOM, AFRESCOM, or NAFRESCOM or AFRESCOM. They'll forward your application to higher headquarters for further processing. Q23. What do I need to apply for a reservist ID card? A 23. You'll need your enlistment or appointment orders, an endorsement from your major service or AFRESCOM, a control number from your major service, AFRESCOM and OJ8. For the biometric system, you'll need to appear in person in full uniform. Philippine Army, BDA battle dress attire. Philippine Air Force and Navy, GOA General Office attire. Technical Service, GOA. Q24, is the reservist ID card free? A 24, no, there's a minimal fee of P70.00 for both new applications and renewals. This covers the cost of producing the ID. Q25, when can reservists carry firearms? A 25, generally, you're only authorized to carry firearms during official training activities. If you have a personal firearm, you need to follow the same licensing and permit rules as any other citizen. However, as a reservist, you may be eligible for a discounted fee when applying for a license and permit. Q26, what's the role of the local registrar for reservists? A 26, they help reservists fulfill their legal requirement to register every 3 years. This ensures the AFP has your updated information. Q27, what is GOA? A27, GOA stands for General Office Attire. It's the standard uniform worn by AFP personnel in office settings or during non-field duties. Q28, what is BDA, and when is it worn? A 28, BDA battle dress attire is the camouflage uniform worn during field training or by personnel in field units. Headquarters personnel also wear it during heightened alert situations. Q29, what are the different military alert levels? A 29, these indicate the level of readiness the AFP maintains. White alert, normal state of readiness. Blue alert, increased readiness due to a potential threat. Red alert, highest level of readiness, indicating an imminent threat or ongoing crisis. There are 3 levels of red alert: defense condition 1, 2, and 3 based on the severity of the situation. Q30, how should insignias be worn? A 30, follow the AFP Uniform Code, which provides guidelines on the proper placement and wearing of insignias. Absolutely, here's a revamped version of the questions and answers, tailored for your young reservist audience. Q31, are reservists entitled to military awards, medals, and ribbons? A 31, yes, absolutely, just like regular soldiers, reservists can earn awards, medals, and ribbons for their service, bravery, and achievements. If you go above and beyond in training or during mobilization, your efforts can be officially recognized. Q32, what do I need to enlist in the Reserve Force? A 32, to enlist, you'll need to meet a few basic requirements. Be a Filipino citizen with good moral character. Be physically and mentally fit for military training, confirmed by a doctor. Get local clearances, municipal trial court, police, and NBI. Be a high school graduate. Be at least 18 years old. Be at least 5 feet tall. Q33, what if I want to become an officer in the Reserve Force? A 33, the requirements are a bit more involved for officers. Submit an application and some personal documents like a photo and birth certificate. If you're a professional, you'll need your license, proof of experience, and either basic or advanced ROTC completion. If you're not a professional, you'll need your college diploma or transcript if not graduated, and ROTC certificates. If you have prior military experience, provide proof of service and any awards or decorations. There may be additional requirements if you're applying for chaplain service. You'll need to pass a medical exam from an AFP doctor. Provide clearances from various agencies. Q34, who is qualified to become an officer in the Reserve Force. A 34. The AFP is always looking for qualified leaders. Here are some examples. Elected officials and presidential appointees who have a college degree. College graduates who completed basic ROTC. Key personnel from affiliated reserve units who have expertise the AFP needs. Outstanding non-commissioned officers in active duty who qualify for a commission. Graduates of the Masters in National Security Administration program. The bottom line is, if you have the skills, education, and dedication to serve, there could be a place for you as an officer in the Reserve Force. Let's talk about how civilian leaders and specialists can contribute to the Reserve Force. Q35. Can elected officials and presidential appointees be commissioned into the Reserve Force? A 35. Absolutely. If they hold a college degree, they can be commissioned as officers in the Reserve Force. This means your mayor, governor, or even a senator could be a fellow reservist. Q36. What initial commission rank can be given to elected officials and presidential appointees? A 36. The rank depends on their position. For example, senators, congressmen, women, and provincial governors, lieutenant colonel, city, municipal mayors, captain, barangay chairman, first lieutenant. Presidential appointees also have ranks that correspond to their positions. For example, a department secretary would be a lieutenant colonel. Q37. What initial commission rank can be given to technical service reserves? A 37. For those with specialized skills, the rank depends on your age, education, and experience. If you're a doctor, engineer, or IT specialist, your expertise could earn you a higher rank. Q38. What rank can be given to employees of private and government entities that are affiliated reserve units? A 38. If you work for a company or government agency that's part of the affiliated reserves, your rank will be based on your position within that organization. This ensures your skills are best utilized to support the AFP. Q39. What is a line officer? A 39. Line officers are the commissioned officers who lead and command troops in the Army, Air Force, and Navy, or those commissioned under the Affiliated Reserve Unit program. They're the backbone of the military's operations. So, as you can see, there are many pathways to serve as a reservist. Whether you're an elected official, a technical expert, or a regular citizen, your skills and dedication are valuable to the AFP and the country. Q40. What initial commission rank can be given to line officers? A 40. Typically, new line officers start as to LT Second Lieutenant or ENSIGN, the naval equivalent. However, depending on your qualifications and experience, you might start at a higher rank. It's all detailed in Circular 30. Q41. What about graduates of the National Defense College of the Philippines NDCP? A 41. NDCP graduates are often experts in national security and defense. They usually start at a higher rank, typically lieutenant colonel. This reflects their advanced knowledge and skills. Q42. What rank do advanced ROTC graduates receive? A 42. If you successfully complete the Advanced ROTC course, also known as POTC, you'll be commissioned to LT and assigned to a reserve unit or mobilization center in your province. It's a great way to start your military career. Q43. When can a citizen become a reservist? A 43. Once you've finished the necessary pre-commission or pre-enlistment training, you'll be officially appointed as an officer or enlisted personnel in the Reserve Force. You'll receive your rank, serial number, and unit assignment. Q44. What's the technical service, and where can they apply for commission? A 44. The technical service is a vital part of the AFP, made up of skilled professionals like doctors, nurses, lawyers, chaplains, and veterinarians. They provide essential support to the military. If you're in this field, you can apply for commission at AFRESCOM in Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City. Q45. What rank is awarded to basic ROTC graduates? A 45. Basic ROTC graduates can earn ranks from private to sergeant or equivalent, depending on their performance. They're then assigned to a reserve unit in their province. Q46. What if ROTC graduates aren't incorporated into the Ready Reserve? A 46. If they're not immediately part of the Ready Reserve, they'll be assigned to the Standby Reserve. Q47. How can an ROTC graduate get their lost rank and serial number back? A 47. If you've lost your records, reach out to your former DMST Department of Military Science and Tactics and provide your transcript. They can help you get your information reinstated. Q48. Can someone who didn't do ROTC still become a reservist? A 48. Absolutely. You can voluntarily apply to join the Basic Citizen Military Training BCMT at a reserve unit near your home. This is a great option for those who didn't take ROTC but still want to serve. Q49. Is ROTC optional for college students? A 49. Yes. Under the National Service Training Program and STP, ROTC is now optional. It's up to you whether you choose ROTC, Civic Welfare Training Service CWTS, or Literacy Training Service LTS. Q50. Can CWTS or LTS graduates become AFP Reservists? A 50. Not directly through those programs. However, after completing CWTS or LTS, you could still volunteer for the BCMT and become a reservist that way.